Good morning, students. I am D. Mysore Babu, JL in Chemistry, APR JC Nemakur. Today, I am going to discuss how to determine the structure of solids using X-rays. This is called X-ray crystallography. Okay. In this lesson, the most important question that we have to discuss is derivation of Bragg's equation. This question was asked several times for 4 marks in IPE exams, right? So first of all, we discuss why only X-rays are used to determine the structure of solid. Why not other electromagnetic radiations are not used? Okay, why they are not used, and what are the properties of light that we have to discuss to study the structures of solids, and then the method used to determine the structure of the solids. Okay, right. So here, why we should use only X-rays to determine the structure of solids? Because if we take the diameter of atom, it is in the range of 2 into 10 power minus 10 meters. Okay, as the wavelength of X-rays is around 10 power minus 10 meters, X-rays are used to determine the structure of the solids. That means the radius or diameter of atoms or molecules or ions is in the order of X-rays. So X-rays are useful to determine the structure of the crystals. That is the reason for using X-rays to determine the structure of solids. First, Max von Loo proved that X-rays are diffracted by NaCl crystal. He observed that NaCl acts as diffraction grating for the X-rays. Okay. Later, W.L. Bragg and W.H. Bragg determined the structure of NaCl, which is determined as FCC by passing X-rays. Okay. So to determine the structure of NaCl, they used Bragg's equation. What is that Bragg's equation? How it is will be derived? Okay, we will discuss later. So first, the first solid whose structure was determined is NaCl, right? Next one. If we take the properties of light, there are 5 properties of light: reflection, refraction, next diffraction, next interference, and polarization. I think you might have gone through these properties in previous classes, or you might have gone through these properties in physics, in optics. Okay, here we have to discuss 2 properties. Okay, they are diffraction and interference. What is diffraction? Bending of a wave at a fine edge or at the tip of needle is called diffraction. Bending of wave, simply bending of wave is called diffraction. Then what is interference? When 2 waves superimpose one another, resulting a new wave, it is called, that property is called interference. Superimposition of waves is called interference. Okay, of course this is of 2 types: constructive interference and destructive interference. Okay, so these 2 will be discussed now, right? What is meant by constructive interference? If two waves superimpose each other in such a way that the crest of first wave superimposes with the crest of second wave. Similarly, trough of first wave superimposes with the trough of second wave. Then the interference is called constructive interference. Okay. In constructive interference, the amplitude of the resultant wave will be Okay, sum of the amplitudes of the two waves which undergoing superimposition. Okay, so amplitude of the resultant wave A is equal to A1 plus A2, right? Okay, so amplitude of the resultant wave is more than either the first wave and the second wave, right? So in superimposition, in constructive interference, amplitude increases. Okay, so in constructive interference, the path difference should be n lambda, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3, etc. Lambda is the wavelength. Okay, and the phase difference between the two waves should be 2n pi. 2n pi. Lambda is equal to 2 pi. Therefore, n into 2 pi or 2n pi, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next, when they superimpose in constructive mode, then it is called constructive interference. And in constructive interference, as amplitude increases, intensity also increases. Intensity of light also increases, because intensity is directly proportional to amplitude square. So as intensity of light increases, we get a bright light spots. Okay, the spots will be bright in constructive interference. Okay, why bright light spots are observed? Because amplitude increases. As the amplitude increases, intensity also increases. Okay, here the formula we use is intensity is directly proportional to amplitude square. Okay, next, if you go to destructive interference, in destructive interference, the two waves superimpose one and other in such a way that the crest of the first wave falls on the trough of the second wave. Similarly, the trough of the first wave falls on the crest of the second wave. Okay, you might have observed these things in the figure. Okay, here it is the crest of first wave, it is the trough of the second wave. Okay, here amplitude of the first wave is A1 and amplitude of the second wave is A2, and we are taking as A1 is greater than A2. Okay, so what will be the next the resultant wave? What will be the resultant wave? Resultant wave will be like this. Then amplitude of the resultant wave is equal to A1 difference A2. As we are taking A1 is more than A2, here amplitude is A1 minus A2. That means in the resultant wave, in destructive superimposition or destructive interference, the amplitude of the resultant wave will be less than either first wave or second wave. Okay, so in destructive interference, as amplitude decreases, intensity of light also decreases. So we won't get brighter spots. Okay, for destructive interference, the path difference should be 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. Okay, or phase difference is 2n minus 1 pi, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on. Of course, you may take 0 also, but in textbook, as these are given as 1, 2, 3, I mentioned as 1, 2, 3. Of course, you can take n value as 0 also. Okay, so here we have to keep in mind that when light waves undergo constructive interference, okay, then light spots are very bright. Okay, light spots are very bright. So that phenomena is used in the determination of structure of a solid. Next, okay, how to derive Bragg's equation? Okay, we will derive Bragg's equation. Right. So here, see in this figure, when X-rays are incident on crystal plane, they undergo first diffraction and then undergo interference. That is why we discussed diffraction and interference properties of the wave. Okay. Next, In solid, we know that atoms or ions are arranged in regular places in a crystal and layers are formed along the planes. Okay, let the interplanar distance is d. Say this is one plane and say this is the second plane. Between these two, the interplanar distance is d, right? So when this becomes d, okay, this distance also becomes a t. Okay, this distance also becomes a d. Okay, so xo is the say first X-ray and say YB is the second X-ray. These fall on two successive layers. First ray falls at O and diffracts with the same angle. Okay, here it incidents with glancing angle theta, and with the same theta it again reflects back or diffracts. In the same way, second ray is parallel to the first ray, it also will have the glancing angle theta, and again it diffracts with the same angle theta. Okay, so XO and YB are the incident X-rays, and OP and OQ are diffracting X-rays. These diffracted X-rays now interference each other, or they superimpose each other. Okay, right. First X-ray meets at the layer above the layer at O and diffracts with the same glancing angle theta. Second X-ray meets the next surface at B and diffracts as shown in the figure with the same glancing angle theta. Let OA and OC are the parallel lines drawn to the lines YB and BQ. Okay, so OA, it is a parallel line to YB, and OC, this is another parallel line drawn to the BQ, right? Okay. If we go to the next point, right, here OAB is a triangle and OBC is also another triangle. OAB and OBC are right angle triangles because OA and OC are perpendiculars drawn to the YB and BQ, right? From OAB, as it is right angle triangle, sin theta is equal to opposite side length by hypotenuse. Okay, AB by OB. That means AB is equal to that, from that AB is equal to OB sin theta, or AB is equal to D sin theta, because OB distance is equal to D. Okay, so AB is equal to D sin theta, where D is the distance between the two adjacent layers. Similarly, from OBC triangle, again sin theta is equal to BC, that is opposite side length, by OB, okay, hypotenuse. Therefore, from this BC is equal to OB sin theta, and OB is equal to D. Therefore, BC is equal to D sin theta. Say this is equation 2. Okay, if we observe two X-rays carefully, okay, from up to A and from C, okay, the two lines are with the same length. That means they travel with the same distance. Okay, so if we compare the first ray with the second ray travels an extra distance AB plus BC than first ray, which is equal to path difference. Okay, then from 1 and 2, AB plus BC is equal to 1 and 2. From 1 and 2, AB plus BC is equal to D sin theta plus D sin theta, that is equal to 2D sin theta. What is AB plus BC? AB plus BC is nothing but it is path difference. Okay. For constructive interference, the path difference AB plus BC must be equal to n lambda, as we have already discussed. Okay, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on. Right? So 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda. AB plus BC is equal to 2d sine theta. Okay, which is equal to path difference n lambda, where n is order of diffraction. N is called the order of diffraction. Right? So n lambda is equal to 2d sine theta. This is called Bragg's equation. Okay, n lambda is equal to 2d sine theta. It is called Bragg's equation. Here we observed two properties of X-rays. They are bending of waves and superimposition of waves, that is diffraction and interference. Okay, so this is derivation of Bragg's equation, which is an important concept, okay, given for 4 marks in IPE several times. So you must practice derivation of Bragg's equation, right? Next, okay, we derived Bragg's equation. We derived Bragg's equation. Right. Here you see how a Bragg's equation is derived. Okay, with the animation. So here two layers are taken. Okay, distance between those two layers is d. Here two X-rays are coming from the source, which meet the points or lattice points at the first layer and the second layer, and again they are diffracting. These diffracted rays are detected by a detector. Here these are out of phase. These waves are out of phase. Why these are out of phase? Because if we observe this line, here the crust meets trough. Okay, so the scattered rays, as scattered rays are out of phase, okay, as scattered rays are out of phase, no bright spots will be observed. No bright spots will be observed. Okay. Next, we are changing the angle. We are changing the angle of glancing angle of X-rays. Okay, and we are detecting the diffracted rays. Okay, so here if we observe, the diffracted rays are in phase. When we say that these diffracted rays are in phase, okay, you observe this line here. Okay, the first line and second line have troughs on the same line. Okay, trough falls on the trough and crest falls on the crest. So it is called constructive interference, right? So here OB, OA, OB, these are perpendicular lines drawn. So AB, AO dash becomes d sine theta, and O dash B becomes d sine theta, that is extra distance. Okay, so the extra distance AO dash and O dash B is equal to d sine theta plus d sine theta, that is equal to 2d sine theta, but this 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda. This 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda. Okay, so n lambda is equal to 2d sine theta. Right? Next, Debye-Scherrer method or powder method to determine the structure of a solid. Okay, how to determine the structure of a solid using Bragg's equation. This is also an important question. You observe this diagram carefully. Okay, so here the solid powder is taken a thin-walled glass tube, a thin-walled glass tube or capillary tube, which is placed on a rotating plane. This is rotating plane. Okay, that crystal powder is placed on a rotating plane. This rotating plane is useful to rotate the crystal and to change the theta value. Here it is X-ray tube. We call it as a source of X-rays. Okay, so X-rays coming from this source, okay, falls on the solid crystal powder and diffract and meet in this counter. Okay, so here in this counter ionization chamber will be present. Say this is the ionization chamber in which methyl bromide vapor is present. Okay, and it is connected to electrometer. That means current is determined okay, using electrometer. Okay, so here if we take the process, a monochromatic X-ray beam from source X is made incident on crystal powder sample filled in thin-walled glass capillary tube C. We are mentioning that capillary tube as a C. Okay, what is meant by monochromatic X-rays? So X-rays will have a range of wavelengths. If a particular wavelength of X-rays are taken, they are called as monochromatic X-rays. Okay, right. What is C? C is nothing but capillary tube which consists of the crystal powder. Okay, this is placed on rotating table. The diffracted X-rays, okay, allowed to enter into the ionization chamber I. These letters are given in textbook. Okay, so I is the ionization chamber, usually filled with methyl bromide vapor. Okay, as the X-rays, diffracted X-rays fall on methyl bromide vapor, ionization takes place. Okay, as the intensity of X-rays or energy of X-rays increases, ionization also increases. As the number of ions produced are more, then current will be more, I value will be more. Okay, when the current will be more, when ionization is more. When the ionization will be more, when intensity is more. When the intensity is more, when amplitude of the diffracted and interfered rays is more. Okay, so when the amplitude becomes more when they undergo constructive interference. So that point must be keep in mind. Okay, so energy of X-rays cause ionization. Okay, so that there is a flow of a current. The current is measured with electrometer E. By rotating the table for different 2 theta values. Okay, for rotating the table for different 2 theta values, I values are noted. And for a plot is drawn between 2 theta values and I values. We will get a graph as shown in the figure. Here 2 theta is taken on x-axis and I value is taken on a y-axis. If we observe clearly here, okay, I value is more at this 2 theta value. Okay, so if we divide that 2 theta value by 2, then we will get a theta value. Okay, we are getting theta value for higher current. Okay, when current is higher, then they undergo constructive interference. Okay, so when undergo constructive interference, path difference becomes n lambda. Okay, here we are taking n lambda means that interference is constructive interference, and as that interference is constructive interference, I is more. Okay, for which theta I is more, we are calculating with this graph. So theta is calculated, and lambda, that is wavelength of X-rays, is known. Okay, and n is the order of diffraction, that is also known. So by substituting theta, lambda and n values, d values are calculated, d values are determined. Okay, so for different d values, for different okay, along x-axis, along y-axis and along z-axis, along x-axis, along y-axis and along z-axis, the d values are noted. Say for example, this is the first plane. Okay, next we again on this plane we will take a theta value, and then we will take a theta value on this plane also. So in this way d values are calculated okay, along x-axis, along y-axis or along a z-axis, and the ratio is determined. If the ratio is 1:0.703 is to 1. I think 132, that determines the shape of NaCl crystal as FCC. Okay, so this is determination of structure of solid crystal using X-rays. This is called X-ray crystallography. Okay, thank you.